So he wins the national championship. Here he is running the hurdles, and he's way ahead of everybody. And I understand he won by some 2 seconds, which is, explain that to us, because that's like an eternity. That's the average viewer may be thinking 2 seconds. That's not, but that in track and field, that's an eternity.
Yeah, look at the video. We're not even in the picture when he's crossing the finish line and taking that moment away from, in this situation, me, but in other situations, any woman.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I want you to imagine you are an athlete who has been training from the age of 4. You're born in Sweden and you start thinking about opportunities in America, which is something that doesn't come around too often for many people. But you have a talent and you finally get the opportunity to go to Texas, to go to college there, to get a scholarship, to live in a new country. And you may possibly win an NCAA championship one day. That's your dream. As someone who's foreign, to come to America and to win an NCAA championship and to even get an All-American accolade. It's one thing to dream that, but it's another thing when it becomes a reality. Or at least you come very, very close to making it a reality. So we have a 400-meter runner, 400-meter hurdler, Mina from Sweden, comes to Texas, gets to the finals of the NCAA championship and is a hot favorite to win, except they're now allowing men into your competition. And you have to be a man in order to become an NCAA champion. How does one come to terms with that? How does one even begin to accept that? That you come to America and you find out that in an upcoming competition, the most important meet of your entire career, you're going to have to compete against a man. That's what happened to Mina. And guess where she came? Second. She was told that that's perfectly fair, that a man denying her an NCAA championship, a man who's used to running on hurdles that are higher, that are raised higher because they're men and they're built differently. A man who was ranked 300 and something when competing against other male athletes comes over into the women's and becomes an NCAA champion. She gets told that she has to be okay with that. She gets told that she even has to be willing to undress in a locker room with this person present. And if she don't like it, tough. This is what she came to America for, apparently. Well, Mina is not being silent about this. She has written in the Wall Street Journal, detailing her experience of coming to this country and being put through that, of having an NCAA championship stolen from her. And this is what she said. In 2019, when I was a sophomore at East Texas A&M University, I was assigned second place in the finals of the NCAA Division II Women's 400-meter hurdles. The video from the event shows me racing in lane 8. In lane 4 is CeCe Telfer of Franklin Pierce University, who competed for that school's men's team in 2016 and 2017. Craig Telfer ranked 390th among NCAA Division II men. CeCe Telfer destroyed the women's field and crossed the finish line almost 2 seconds before me, becoming the first known transgender identified athlete to win an NCAA title. So Mina is now back in Sweden and she returns home without an NCAA championship to her name, which she should have, because she was the fastest woman in that Division II 400-meter hurdles race. She was the fastest woman. And the men, they were competing in a different event, except for when they identify as transgender. That's all they need to do in order to come over into the women's division. But it's okay, because at the time, the NCAA's rules were that you had to suppress your testosterone to 10 nanomoles and under, which is well above the average testosterone of a female athlete. 2.4 is in the higher range for females, the higher range. So we're told that it's perfectly fair because they were on hormones for a year prior to the event. But then you look at the person and you can clearly see that this person is male. You can clearly see that this is the same person that was competing in the men's division just a couple of years earlier.
I mean, look at this person. And for the listening audience, it is very clearly a man with male size with male musculature. And indeed, CeCe Telfer was running and competing in track and field as a man shortly prior to declaring himself a woman and running and competing against you.
Yes.
How close in time was it?
2 years prior, he
Wow.
competed as a man. Yeah.
And his stats were terrible, as I understand it. He was in the mid 300s in terms of where he ranked in track and field at that point as a man.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And then 2 years later, he won the national championship for women.
I'm glad Mina was speaking out. And not only is she speaking out, she is demanding that the NCAA correct the wrongs that they are guilty of. She's demanding that the NCAA correct their records to rightfully reflect the female athletes who won those championships, the female athletes who deserved those titles to their names. Unfortunately, the moment itself can never be replicated. You can never get that moment back again. What would have come with being an NCAA champion as opposed to a second place runner-up? She can never go back and experience all that comes with that. The very least they can do is correct the records, because no male athlete should be an NCAA champion in a women's competition, in a women's division. And if they claim to be going along with the executive order, they need to admit that they were wrong for allowing it in the first place.
All right, this is part of what you write in the journal. One thing that will always fill me with pride. In 2019, I was the fastest female 400-meter hurdler at any Division II school in the NCAA. It's been 5 years since that honor was stolen from me. I want it back. Just a little explainer here. 400-meter hurdles, you're very good, you're very fast. There was a man by the name of Craig Telfer who ranked 390th among men. Now CeCe Telfer runs against you. He finishes first, you finish second. He beats you by 2 seconds. Men average 5 seconds faster than women in the same event. And the hurdles for the women are 9 inches shorter than the men. How is any of this fair?
It's not. Nothing about it is fair. It's not okay that NCAA is allowing this to even going on. They absolutely need to be held accountable for what they are allowing female athletes to go through. It's not fair.
I think you may have heard this interview. I'm going to play it for you. Happened in February, so recently, all right? Here is CeCe Telfer, your competition.
I feel like a lot of the anti-trans rhetoric has become louder, more in my face. I need some explanation as to why you want to completely eradicate us from society when we've done nothing wrong.
CeCe might hear this interview. What would you like to say?
I would like to say that no one is trying to eradicate them. The only thing we want is fairness for us women. We are the ones that are having to go through being treated unfairly within our sports. I don't understand why anyone else's feelings, why we as women have to suppress our feelings to make other people feel better.
And then she goes on to explain that CeCe Telfer becoming the first transgender to win this Division II title, she said, that made me the first collegiate woman to be told her victory was worth less than a man's feelings. I cried a lot that day, not because I lost, but because of how I lost. I also knew I wasn't the only victim. Every time a male athlete enters a female competition, a woman gets cut from the roster to make room. So unlike the narrative that Telfer was trying to push there, that somehow we want to erase trans people and all of this hyperbole that they put out there, what this is actually doing is erasing women. This is excluding female athletes from competing in a competition that they belong in. This is excluding female athletes from the podium. This is excluding female athletes from achieving gold medals, trophies, or even achieving a medal at all. Because there's going to be one woman who didn't get to stand on the podium because a place was taken by a male athlete. She is 100% correct that this is all to preserve the feelings of male athletes rather than telling them the truth. You do not belong in a women's competition, regardless of how you identify. If you can't step on that podium in a correct category, then you don't belong on that podium. An identity doesn't give you a place on that podium. Everybody else has to accept that reality, except for when people identify a certain way. And we disenfranchise other groups to accommodate this delusion.
So in 2019, I qualified for the national championship in Division 2. I was going to run the 400 hurdles. For a few weeks prior to getting to the competition, I heard a lot of rumors going around that I would be competing against a male competitor. So, you know, coming up to the competition, I was trying to focus on myself and making sure that I got ready for the meet. But yeah, showing up at the track competition, one of the competitors that qualified was a man, took a spot from one of the females that would have been able to be at the national championship. So that was a very shocking experience for me.
So I cannot imagine you're excited, you're going to be competing, you've made it to the finals. Then you find out that a male athlete is going to be in your race. She said she can't do anything about that. That's how she felt. And she was only focusing on herself. Okay, how can I still run the best race I can possibly run? That was her focus. And I don't blame her because this was unprecedented. And it makes me understand why the women didn't just walk away and say, well, we're not going to compete, we're going to take a stand. Because this is new to them. They're just focusing on the fact that they're in college, they've got a scholarship, they're there to do a job and to get the job done, which is to compete, which is to be successful in their chosen sport. That was their focus. This was something that was sprung on them.
And so when you stood up there as a second place finisher, did you feel like you had to pretend this was fine? Like what was going through your head there on the podium holding up your trophy?
I tried to pretend like everything was fine. I remember crossing the finish line and my eyes started tearing up and I wiped it really quick to try to hide it from everybody else, because even though I knew a lot of people felt the same way I did, no one spoke up. No one dared to say anything. When we were at the meet, you could feel it in the air that something was different. In the speakers, they called out that we had to show sportsmanship and that we had to be inclusive. And that's something that I hadn't heard at a national championship for the NCAA prior to what was happening at this meet. I felt like I had to be quiet.
But at this time, this was all very new. If you think about Riley Gaines, wasn't that like 2 years after this?
And was there anything you could have done, Mina? Did anybody say, well, you could challenge it? Or were they basically like, you're stuck with this, deal with it?
You're stuck with this, deal with it.
And I just can't imagine. The NCAA have a lot of work to do in even beginning to correct this injustice against these girls. I mean, it's heartbreaking that they were put through that. Absolutely heartbreaking. And it affects everybody at all levels, not just the girl who came second, the girl who didn't even make the finals. She's going to look back and think, what would have been different in my life if I had made the finals? And it's a real shame that this was allowed to happen. So the court case is still ongoing. There needs to be accountability. They need to be compensated. And we don't know for sure how Telfer not being in that race would have changed the course of these girls' careers, their athletic careers. We don't know. But what we do know is there are championships with the wrong name attributed to them. In the very least, the NCAA needs to correct that. So I commend Mina for speaking out about her experience. She's not just speaking for herself. She's speaking for all female athletes who have been affected by this. So keep speaking out, keep drawing attention to this. It's not over. Unfortunately, it's not over. And even if policies are changed, what happened in the past needs to be corrected too, as much as it is possible. And a good place to start is correcting the records. Now, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.